Hello everyone, this is a question, and in this video I am going to be using Tier Maker. I haven't done one of these in a couple of years, and so I realized I hadn't done a reading log for anything I read in December, January, or February. So I thought it would be, instead of trying to remember my thoughts from stuff I read back in December, I figured I would just do a tier list, kind of ranking everything I read in the past 3 months. So we have some complete series that I read, and then we also have some just volume ones or some series that I read a couple volumes and dropped. But yeah, so I'm using a different microphone than I normally use to record this because for some reason my regular microphone wasn't working on my PC. So if it sounds a little different, I apologize, but let's get right into the video. Okay, so again, this will be everything I read in December of 2023 and then everything I read in January and February. So we have 3 months worth. So starting off, I read through Library Wars, Love and War, the whole series, so volumes 1 through 15. This is an action romance series, kind of a standard office romance trope, but put in a world where the library is being deemed unsuitable for the population, so this library defense force is created to stand up against them. So a lot more action kind of stuff going on than your typical office romance, but this was a really good series. I really enjoyed it. I read through all 15 volumes, so I'm going to put that in the A category. Next up, we have Mason Okoku, by a classic series by Rumiko Takahashi. This again, I'm going to put in the A category. This has, the fact that I'm putting it this high is pretty amazing considering the fact it has my least favorite storytelling technique of any media in this series, which is the constant miscommunication that happens 50 times a volume, where every single story progression, every single story beat is misunderstanding based, and easily one of my least favorite kind of storytelling choices. But this series is so good it works even through that. So great series. I read all of that in these collector's editions, really nice. Next up, we have The Secret of Friendship. This is a one-shot obviously about friendship by the writer of High School Debut and My Love Story. I'm going to put this in B. This was a really enjoyable one-shot. Next up, we have The Horizon. I read all 3 volumes of this manhwa, very dark and depressing kind of post-apocalyptic series. This was really good, one of the best manhwas I've ever read. I'm going to place that in A. Next up, we have My Lovesick Life as a 90s Otaku. I read only volume 1 of this. New series about a mom whose daughter has grown up, where otaku culture has been kind of mainstream, and then she kind of thinks back on how she had to hide being an otaku in the 90s when she was growing up. So I'm going to put this in B. I will continue reading that series. Next up, we have Summertime Rendering. So I had the full set of hardcovers of this. I only made it through the first 3. I really didn't like this one at all. The plot was not very interesting. The overall mystery was pretty boring. I didn't like any of the characters. There's a lot of sexualization of children in this series. That's off-putting, so definitely not one for me. I made it through 3 volumes. I had to force myself to do the 3rd volume, but yeah, not for me. Let's see. Next, we have Spirit of Wonder. So in Japan, Spirit of Wonder was a 400-page short story collection by Kenji Tsuruta, and when Dark Horse released it in English, they just pulled out the Miss China stories, who's on the cover here, out of it. So it's a 150-page one shot, and that's what I've read, which is what Dark Horse released. And this, again, not very good. The artwork's amazing by Tsuruta. I've really only read Imanon by that creator, and this one was a pretty big disappointment, so I'll probably be selling that one off. Next up, we have Beyond the Clouds. This is a short 5-volume series. This is one of the first series that I ever started picking up, but each volume was almost a year in between. This is a really good series if you're into Studio Ghibli, stuff like that. Witch Hat, Atelier, really cute series. I'm going to give that one an A. I just kind of wish it would have gone on longer. It does kind of, from where the first 2 volumes are, it kind of seems like it could have been a long running series, but it wraps up, has to wrap up pretty fast in 5 volumes. And then next we have another one shot. We have Gold Kingdom and Water Kingdom. This is one I really wanted to love. The artwork's great, characters are interesting, but the story is just really hard to follow. It's very convoluted. I had a hard time following what was going on in this story. So it does have great art. I am probably going to keep this one in my collection and just give it another try, but I'm going to put this in C. Okay, so next we have The Night Blooms Behind Castle Walls, which is a short 3-volume series. This one, the first volume I kind of enjoyed. It's about a girl who wants to be a knight, so she kind of has to pretend that she's a boy, so that she can, practice being a knight. But a bunch of people there know that she's a girl and don't seem to be too bothered by it. This one was cute, the first volume, but it gets a little too heavy into how castles work. It's very like detail or like little asides inside each volume, kind of where the heavy focus is on telling you how a castle works, less with the story. And considering this is only 3 volumes, that got kind of disappointing. So I did already get rid of this. So I'll put that in C. Next up, we have one of the best things I read this month, and that is Oku the Inner Chambers. I read through all 19 volumes of this series, so this is going to go in S. This is an alternate history telling of early Japan where a disease kills off most of the male population, so women run the government and act as shogun. So this is not going to be for everyone, very dialogue heavy. The series takes place over hundreds of years, so you get very attached to characters that might only appear in 1 volume, 2 volumes. But this is just a masterpiece from Fumi Yoshinaga. Definitely going to be on one of my favorite series of all time. Next up, we have I Married My Female Friend, Volume 1. This one is by the same creator of Donuts Under a Crescent Moon, obviously a Yuri series. I did enjoy this one, but it didn't hook me like Donuts did, so I'm not, I'm still going to hold on to this and see how it goes. So I'll put that in C. So there is going to be some stuff in C that I am going to keep, and there's going to be some stuff in C that I've actually gone on haul or I've already unhauled, so like the case of this one. Next up, we have Breakfast with My Two-Tailed Cat, Volume 1. This is a slice of life about a guy whose wife dies, and so his cat basically turns into this yokai kind of creature, cat creature, and he makes breakfast for it every morning. And so the whole premise of the story is just what breakfast he's made for his cat, and seems like it would be cute, but I was pretty bored of it. Even as someone who's a big fan of cat manga, this one kind of didn't do too much for me, so I will be unhauling this and not continuing. Next up, we have A Cat from Our World and the Forgotten Witch, Volume 1. This was a good start volume, kind of similar vibes to Free Ren. We have this witch who saved the world at one time and has kind of been forgotten about, and so she brings in this cat from our world, but it turns into this kind of giant cat bus-sized cat. So, good starter volume. Definitely will look forward to reading more of that. I read all 3 volumes of Still Sick, which is kind of a standard Office Yuri series. The first 2 volumes were just kind of fine, but not that memorable, but it did wrap up really well in its 3rd volume, so I'm going to put this at B, even though I did unhaul this one already. I don't think I'm ever going to read it again, but it was a fine Yuri series. Next up, we have a top-tier Yuri series, and that is Bloom Into You. Really great characters, high school romance Yuri series. I'm going to put this into S. Really enjoyed this one. I read all 8 volumes of this. I did buy the light novels. I've not read those yet, but great side characters. And then they also had 2 anthology volumes. The first one of these was pretty lackluster, but the second one I thought was pretty good. So I'm going to put this one in B for the 2 anthology volumes, and those are obviously stories in the Bloom into You universe by different creators, but in the second volume there was actually one by the original creator, so that was nice. And then next we have Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Volume 1. This is a heavily hyped manga series that I could not care for it, couldn't get into it at all. I really disliked everything about this. The artwork is not good, the story is ridiculous, the characters uninteresting. I really didn't like this. So that's going in D. I read the first volume of that. Next up we have Wonder House of Horrors. This is a horror anthology recently released by Starfruit Books. Great mix of gore and humor. So if you're a fan of Hideshi Hino works, check this one out. I'm going to put this one in the A category. Next up we have Yokohama Station SF. I read through all 3 volumes of this very mediocre science fiction series. I wrote this one, so I'm going to put that in C. It's not awful, it's just very uninteresting and wraps up way too quickly. In the second volume there was a lot of dragging out stuff, and I was pretty baffled why it was doing that when it's only 3 volumes. So there is that. Next we have Black Knight Parade. I read volume 1 of this and I already unhauled this one. Again, just okay, didn't hook me. I didn't really like I thought it was going to be kind of more dark. It's kind of a more comedy series, and I could tell pretty quickly that type of humor was not going to hit for me, so I went ahead and unhauled that. Next up we have Dementia 21. I read through both 2 oversized volumes of this series. This is kind of an absurdist comedy series about senior citizens and their caretaker. Kind of episodic, by Shintaro Kago. I'm pretty sure this is the only series by them that's not 18 plus. I did really enjoy this one, but I didn't love it as much as some people do. The episodic nature of it kind of took me out a little bit. So I'm going to put this in B. Next we have Flowers and Bees. I read through all 7 volumes of this old Moyoko Ano, early 2000s series. This one is very dated. It's not going to be for everyone. I saw a lot of reviews on Goodreads that there was some off-putting stuff in this series that turned them off, but I thought it was funny and weird, so I'll put it at B. Next up, we have The Ice Guy and the Cool Girl Volume 1. I read Volume 1 of this series, and this one I already moved on from. It was originally, I think, a web series, and so almost every 3 or 4 pages, it's repeating the original conceit of the story, so it gets very repetitive. And I was already over and bored with this one by the end of it, so put that one in C. Next up we have Centaurs Volume 1. This was a really great first volume. Definitely looking forward to seeing where this series goes. So I'm going to put this one in the A category. We have another new series that is Sheep Princess in Wolf Clothing. This is a Yuri series about a princess who has a wolf kind of butler that takes care of her, and so they end up having romantic feelings for each other. This one was cute. Gonna put that in B. We have another volume 1, and that is Bocchi the Rock. This was one of my most disappointing reads of, I can't remember if I read this one in December or not, or it was January, but this one I really expected to love and didn't really care for it. I was pretty bored by it, and it seemed like right up my alley, so I already unhauled that, so that went in C. We have if you watched my favorite reads of 2023 video, then you'll have seen this in it, so you'll know that I really enjoyed this one. This goes in the S category. This is One More Step, Come Stand by My Side, a short story collection. So that one was really good. If you want to hear more details about it, check out that video, but I'll put that in S. And then next we're going to have probably the only F in my whole thing, and that is Origin Volume 1 by Bocchi. I hated everything about this one. The art is feels like it was made by a robot. There's no soul to it. It's just kind of technically impressive, but boring. Story is just teen boy nonsense. Nothing to recommend about this. So that's going in the F. Next, we have another volume 1, 365 Days to the Wedding. This was a cute start to our romance series. Put that one in A. I did really enjoy that one. Virgin Love, another kind of cute romance series. We're going to put that one in B. Okay, so next we have Rainbow and Black. This is another short 3-volume series. This one started off cute, kind of a cute series about a lady and this weird pet she finds, but it gets a little creepy by the end of it, where the pet kind of has romantic feelings for her. It got a little too odd. So this one I did enjoy, but I did already unhaul this, so I'm gonna put it in B. But it's definitely not something I was gonna reread. But it had a lot of cute stuff in it, but also a lot of very odd stuff. Next, we have another volume 1. This is a BL, After We Gazed at the Starry Sky. This was a cute start to a series. We're going to put this one in B. Another interesting volume 1. We have an isekai, one of the few isekai in this. I haven't read a lot of isekai, but this was a good one. I'll definitely continue. And that is The Savior's Book, Cafe Story in Another World, volume 1. So we'll put that there. We have another series that, if you saw my 2023 favorite reads video, you'll have seen this in that, so you'll know what I am going to put Kino's Journey at, and that is in the S tier. Really great series. Love this one. So that's going there. Next, we have Gap Papa. This one I'm really this is one of the ones that I'm really most baffled by its reception. This is the guy in this is like a walking red flag, and all the comments on Goodreads are like, where do I find a guy like this? And this guy is the definition of very red flag. I'm very disturbed that people are thinking this is a cute romance, because if you would have told me in volume 2 he murders his wife and child, I would not be surprised after reading volume 1. So next up we have Cheerful Amnesia Volume 1. This was another cute Yuri series about a girl who, or a woman who gets amnesia and then kind of has to fall in love with her girlfriend. So that is going to go in B. We have Girl Got Game. I did have this full set. I only ended up making it through the first 3 volumes before losing interest. It was all right. It just wasn't really hooking me. It's kind of a basketball high school romance series about a girl who's pretending to be a boy to be on the men's basketball team, and she ends up falling in love with one of the boys on the team. It just was okay, but I didn't feel like continuing it, so that is going to go in C. Next, we have a one-shot, Mermaid Scales and the Town of Sand. This was a really good one-shot. I'm going to put that in B. Next, we have Cat on the Hero's Lap. This is like a 20-page short story kind of idea for a story that's dragged out into a whole series for some reason. So it's about a group of adventurers who, every time they are about to fight a monster, this cat jumps on the hero's lap, and so obviously he can't kick the cat off, so they end up losing the fight because there's a cat on his lap. So that's a funny premise for, like I said, one 20-page short story, but it drags along and does that same premise like 10 times in this first volume, and it wore out its welcome real quick, so that goes in B. Next up, we have Children of the Sea. I read through all 5 volumes of this. This is a very beautifully drawn series, very kind of, I don't know how to describe, dreamily written. Definitely not something that I completely understood by the end, but very good, like no other manga that I've ever read, so I'm going to put that in B also. We have a Junji Ito release. We have Mimi's Tales of Terror. This is Junji Ito kind of adapting a bunch of tales of like Japanese kind of horror stories. So this one was pretty good. Not one of my favorite Junji Itos, but a good one. So I'm going to put it in B. We have another. We're getting near the end here. Okay, so like I said, we're down to 6 here. So first off, we have It Takes Two Tomorrow 2, Volume 1. This is an adult romance series with, not adults in content, but adults in characters. This one, it's another one that's been very well reviewed, but it was fine. It just didn't hook me. So this one, I think I'm just going to kind of wait till it wraps up and try to maybe check it out again, but I wasn't that impressed by it, so we'll put that at C. We have Strawberry Fields once again. This is a short 3-volume Yuri series. This one started out really good. Like, I really enjoyed the first 2 volumes, but then there's like a time travel story going on the whole time, and that kind of overtook the 3rd volume, and kind of I did not like kind of where that went. So I ended up already unhauling this one. So even though I'm going to put it in a B category, I did already unhaul this one, just because I'm definitely not. It's not something I'm ever going to reread. Tista. This is by the creator of Spy Family. This is a short 2-volume series. This one, I couldn't even finish the 2nd volume. It was so uninteresting and not very good, so that's going to go in D. Next, we have 100 Tales by Osamu Tezuka. This was probably on the low end of Tezuka works that I've read. I've read quite a few. Definitely worth a read. I'm glad I have it, but definitely on the low end of his work, so I'm going to put that in C. We have another one-shot, Takopi's Original Sin. This is another one I've already unhauled. I didn't really like this one that much. It was okay. Very, dark, depressing story, but not in an engaging, good way, at least for me, so I'm going to put this in C. But I did already unhaul that. And then lastly, we have Kiss the Scars of the Girls Volume 1. This is a new vampire Yuri series, kind of similar to Vampires in content. This one I did enjoy, so I'll put in B. I will be continuing that one. And that was it. So 4 S's. These are kind of cream of the crop stuff. A stuff, again, really good. B, really good. And then, as you can see, only really, stuff that I just really didn't like. The D's and F's, not too much of them. C's, just kind of the average, mediocre type releases. And that was it.
Okay, so that was everything that I read in the past 3 months using TierMaker and kind of a reading log / tier list. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Like I mentioned in my last haul video, I will be doing a collection video hopefully in the next week or 2, kind of just updating my collection. I did recently unhaul another giant stack of manga, probably another 100 volumes that I unhauled. So, I'm getting everything rearranged before I actually make my haul video, but I look forward to making that and posting that in the next couple weeks. So, hope everyone has a great month of March, and I will see you in the next video.